Hey, today working on a 2006 Lincoln Town Car that unfortunately has a failed evaporator core. Wah, wah. So the Ford shop manual gives you great instructions that include once you take off the upper and lower cowling, as well as the fender liner over here. You also need to take off the heater hoses and some wires, and this is too much work. So to save yourself a lot of time, you might notice that there's been an adjustment made in the tray here for your cowling. And typically, I'd show you on another car, but I don't have one available to show. This is folded down here, and you can see there is zero impact to anything. This is just, there's two layers of steel that you can see coming together that are seam sealed, but right up to this point, there's nothing else. This is just one layer of steel with a rolled over lip on the edge, which is actually, you can't even cut yourself on it. Wow, that's surprising. So when you do that, and you go through the trouble of removing all of the fasteners, which are over here, you'll see a variety of these 11mm washer integrated nuts, and you just go around the perimeter. You'll see that they're slotted here. You don't have to take them off all the way. I probably could have left them on, but I've always just taken them off anyways, unless it's a super rusty car. So you have one there, you have one that you can kind of see in the bottom of the picture way down there, which if you take, once you take your fender liner out, you can get your hand up in here and you can feel it right up in here. Otherwise you have none others along here except right there, right there. You don't need to disconnect any wires except on an older, like an 03, 4, and 5, they have an evaporator core temperature sensor right in this area. You'll have to unplug that. Otherwise, you should be able to pull the case back. No, it should be all right. And by pulling the case back, you'll notice here, you have a lot more flexibility, especially since now with this cut and folded back, your lines are hopefully held back with the most expensive bungee in the world. You can just pull this cover off and look, you now have access to your evaporator core. Now you're gonna have to walk this up and out, and the problem you're gonna have is that cover, while it walks up easy, look at the height of it. The height is what, 1.5 inches? This thing is, well, it's the depth of the box. So you may have to cut it a little bit more, or you may need to pry on this box. So if you look closely and pay attention to detail here, you can save yourself a lot of hassle. These heater hoses are going through some of this HVAC weather, I don't know what you would call this, HVAC foam. If you get the hoses aligned so that they pass through the opening, which if you look closely, you can see behind all the pine straw and dirt and stuff, there's a gap there. If you get the hoses just situated right, you're not going to disturb your heater core. You'll be able to pull this HVAC box back enough and just kind of wiggle it. If you get a harness that's getting tight, just disconnect it. You'll be able to pull the evaporator core up and out. You may have to push down on this as well a bit, but either way, I'll show you what I end up doing on this car, because they're all kind of sloppy built in the end. It's old school tech, so some of the fit and finish is not always 100%. For instance, right here, you'll notice we got a little problem here. So sometimes you got to peen this up a little bit, but you can hammer it back flat, because the likelihood is this will be the last evaporator core this car will probably have. You never know, so you don't want to be doing this constantly. But this saves so much hassle, and yeah, if you're somebody who's into making sure you don't have stuff like this, then you have a lot of work ahead of yourself. And I don't like playing with these, because you start trying to remove heater hoses off a heater core, that's when you can really make a mess for yourself. By the way, that heater hose is no longer available from Ford, only this one is. So good luck getting a proper fitting hose if you decide to go the route of taking out the whole box. So I think that's enough blabbing. Thank you very much for watching, and indicate any questions you have below.